Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here with some more Hearthstone. In today's deck spotlight, we will be taking a look at a Mage Blast deck. This deck was submitted to Hearthstone by Tiber EZPK. It is essentially just a basic spell damage mage deck. We've got control spells like the Cone of Cold and Polymorph, plus spell power creatures like Azure Drake and Kobold Geomancer, and then some direct damage spells like Fireball and Pyroblast. Now with the general premise out of the way, let's take a look at the deck in action. So yes, this is a general spell damage mage deck, but the one thing I like about this variation is that it is pretty creature heavy, and there's a good portion of your damage that you are dealing directly through attacking. In this opening hand, the only thing I'm really not too keen on, this is more of a mid-game hand, but that's fine. I don't want the Pyroblast in my opening hand though. That's definitely nothing that I'm going to be playing anytime soon. It looks like we ended up drawing into a Arcane Explosion. So opening hand, we've got a Polymorph, Arcane Explosion, Ogre Magi, and then a Cone of Cold, as well as the coin, because we did get to go second. There's our Kobold Geomancer. Nothing we're going to want to play immediately. I've definitely found with these small casting cost things, you want to make sure you're able to follow it up with some actual damage from a spell to get the full effect out of it. I mean, there's definitely use cases against certain opponents, but right now, playing against a rogue, all that would happen right now is he's just got a million ways to kill this. So I'm gonna wait until I can actually get the extra use out of the spell damage in order to play it. And beyond that, you know, the only thing really I've got right now is to go ahead and Fire Blast, and then we pass the turn. So yeah, we've got a bunch of different creatures in here that we can do significant damage with. There's a Mana Wyrm, the plus spell power damage creatures like the Kobold Geomancer, the Ogre Magi, the Azure Drake, and there's a Bloodmage Thalnos in here, as well as an Archmage. And some of those creatures, you know, with 4+ power, can be pretty strong and do some pretty significant damage. So that's definitely something that does come into effect. All right, so right now, what are we thinking here? We could Mana Wyrm into a coined Cone of Cold or something crazy like that, or a coined Arcane Explosion. That's kind of a lot that I don't necessarily want to do right now, though. What I might do, though, is actually I'm going to play the Mana Wyrm, and then I'm going to follow it up with, I think I'm just going to ping that off. I think that that's what I would like to do. Just so he can't get that extra 1 damage, and this guy can hopefully live a little bit longer. And yeah, and then we'll pass the turn. And what I'm thinking about doing is next turn I could Geomancer, plus if I really felt like it, Arcane Explosion or Cone of Cold. We'll have to see what he plays this turn. Ooh, okay, so it might actually be, if he plays, okay, he's not playing another creature. He's gonna attack right into this. So there goes my Mana Wyrm, unfortunately enough. But that is okay. I wanted to give it a shot. It could have worked out. It didn't work out. That'll happen. One thing that will work out, though, is that this is a perfect opportunity to play the Geomancer, because we can Geomancer plus spell damage with an Arcane Explosion, which will kill both of his creatures there. And I think that that is a pretty good use of it. I think that's a pretty good use of it. So even if it dies next turn, even though it will die next turn, he will attack into it. At least we're able to clear his board. And I think that that's probably my best. The other option is to do a coined Cone of Cold, but that's really, I think the best thing is gonna be that, plus this. Gotta clear his board there, and we ended up losing the 2 life from the Leper Gnome, but that was gonna happen anyways. It's best to not take that attack, plus lose that extra life. There's really no way to avoid that with the exception of a Silence. This deck does not have any of those, so c'est la vie. All right, so he went ahead and attacked into it. He does now have this 4/4 in play, which we would like to deal with. I think this could be a good turn for the coin because we can Polymorph and coin. Or I can just Polymorph and let it sit and not use the coin and just take that 1 damage. That is the other option.
I wonder.
So we're gonna Polymorph that, and the question is, do I want to coin or do I want to save it? Why don't I save it? I don't mind taking 1 damage. There could be a better use for coin in a future turn. Maybe I want a Pyroblast out at turn 7. Maybe I want a Flamestrike at turn 6. Let's take a look if that'll happen. We'll be finding that out right now. So he's got the 1 from the sheep, the 1 from the weapon, and is he playing any other small creatures? No, he is not, so we're not gonna be using the coin this turn. What we will be doing is, I think, Ogre Magi now. Ping that off. And there we go. This is going to be a great target for his hate because he definitely doesn't want it in play. If he leaves it in play, he's going to get Pyroblasted next turn for 11 because of our coin, and he pops an Assassinate. I mean, that's just the sort of thing that'll happen. But, you know, we got him to use a spell, so we got him to use an Assassinate. It's going to leave our later game spell power creatures with something not to worry about, basically. Okay, so this turn, we've got some spell power. You know, we could coin into Pyroblast, but I don't know, we're not necessarily that low. We might just take it easy, go with the Faerie Dragon, ping him for 1, and then we'll pass the turn. So the spells, Pyroblast, Flamestrike, there's Polymorph for control, we've got Fireballs in the deck, Cone of Cold for control, Arcane Intellect for card draw, Frostbolt for control, Arcane Explosions as you've seen. There's also Arcane Missles here in the deck. And he's gonna finish that off with a Fan of Knives. That is great. I am happy with that. He took damage to the face and he used a Fan of Knives. That's a trade that I can certainly be pretty content with. Do I want to Flamestrike to get rid of that thing? Another option would be a spell-powered Arcane Explosion, but I don't have the spell power option at the moment. I might actually waste a Flamestrike to get rid of that, so that I don't take that 4 damage to the face.
What to do? What to do?
Maybe I'll wait one more turn. Maybe we'll wait one more turn before we decide to do that, just in case he plays another creature. Right now, what I'll do is we'll go like this, and I'm also gonna Fireball. And yeah, we'll wait one more turn. I want to see if he plays something else. If he doesn't, it was a waste. If he does, fantastic. Then it'll work out for me.
Behold the might of storm.
Okay. Fortunately, that's not exactly what I had in mind. Oh, that stinks. I mean, not really, because I can still kill it when he plays it again. But the problem is now this has got 6 health, and I can't deal with that with the Flamestrike. I do not have enough damage. We can Flamestrike plus Arcane Explosion, but that is only 5 damage across the board. I can Cone of Cold, which will do that extra damage.
I wonder.
I could Sheep and Cone of Cold. Or I can just Cone of Cold and then Flamestrike next turn and then ping it off. Why don't we do it that way? Cone of Cold, get them frozen. And then next turn I could Flamestrike. And then ping it off with that. Let me just do that damage right now. And then next, actually, no, yeah. I'm gonna Fireball him right now. It would be better to save it for the, well, you know what? We can just go for the kill after this turn. If he doesn't kill us right now, he's dead next turn. We were able to freeze down, lock down the creatures to manage them, and now we've got the kill condition next turn with a Pyroblast. And he does not have the kill, so don't even worry about dealing with the creatures. Just go for the kill. That's the important thing, right? All right, so there's a look at the deck. Let's go ahead and wrap things up by taking a look at the deck list. All right, so here is the deck list for the Mage Blast deck that was once again submitted to Hearthstone by Tiber Easy PK. A bunch of spell damage, some control, and then a handful of creatures that not only add spell damage but are a pretty decent threat in and of themselves. So we've got the Arcane Missles for damage. We've got the Mana Wyrm. It could be a very nice early game damage dealer. There's been a handful of games where I've been able to whittle someone very quickly down to 15 to 20 health with a Mana Wyrm and a couple of spells. You know, turn 1 Mana Wyrm, something like a turn 2 Kobold Geomancer, and if you have a coin, you can coin into Arcane Missles, and then all of a sudden you're hitting for 2 plus the Arcane Missles, dealing 4 damage because of the Geomancer. You can envision how you could very quickly whittle someone down like that. I got the Arcane Explosion for some nice mass damage, especially with all your spell power creatures. This can very easily be 2 to 3 damage across the board. Frostbolt, either some nice early game damage to the opposing hero or some creature elimination. Bloodmage Thalnos plus spell damage, Death Rattle, draw a card. There's really no drawback to this. More of a creature that that you're playing the late game typically, unless you've got an early game combo that you can trigger right away, but just late game to push through that extra damage. Like, say you're at turn 10, pay 2, play the Thalnos, and then you can Pyroblast for 11, just like that out of nowhere. We've got the Faerie Dragon. It's just a nice creature. It's a 3/2, can't be targeted, so it needs mass removal from your opponent to deal with it. This will help you deal with some early game small threats from your opponent, or just to push some extra damage through in the early game, which I've actually felt like a lot of time that's what I end up doing with this thing, because the spells can typically deal with your opponent's creatures. Kobold Geomancer plus spell damage, Arcane Intellect, nice card draw, Cone of Cold for locking creatures down, plus that extra damage, which does get pumped up from the plus spell power, so many times dealing 2 to 3 damage on top of its freeze effect. Fireball, 6, 7, or 8 damage a lot of the time for 4 crystals, not bad. Polymorph for creature control, synergizes of course so well with your Fireblast. Polymorph for huge creature, Fireblast it for 1, goodbye huge creature for 6. Ogre Magi, it's not only that +1 spell damage, but a 4/4 is rather intimidating in of itself. Also very, that's the safe attack range, that 4 attack against any priest deck that you might play with. Remember, priest have an easy time of dealing with creatures with 3 or less and 5 and above, so 4 is that sweet spot. Water Elemental sitting at 3, unfortunately, but it does have that 6 health plus the freeze effect when it does damage to a character, the opponent, or creatures. Azure Drake for the spell damage plus the battlecry of drawing a card. Archmage, spell damage plus it's a 4/7, intimidating in and of itself. Flamestrike for some mass damage, only one of those though, because we do have some other mass damage things which help us deal with the early game, and by the time it gets to this point in the game, we're looking to Pyroblast or drop some fireballs, and it's almost victory at that point. And then we've got the 2 Pyroblast, one of the only, I think this is the only epic card. We've got this, a couple of rares, and then the 1 legendary, the Bloodmage Thalnos. This isn't that difficult of a deck to construct, and it is pretty effective. So we took a look at the 1 game here in this video. There will be a follow-up video where we go through 2 to 3 games, so be sure to tune in for that if you'd like to see more gameplay from the Mage Blast deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the content, please be sure to subscribe, and as always, keep watching and keep owning.